And this nuclear thing, I understand that as well because I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. My God, I would have spit on the ground if you'd have mentioned nuclear energy 20 years ago. But to get this done, we may have to do it, find a way to sequester the stuff. I've had Dr. Gerald Schnur from the University of Iowa on before, try to protect that waste in some way so that it can be safely maybe used or converted by future generations or something like that. Because what I say is, there ain't going to be no future generation if we don't
Right.
figure a solution to this by 2030, 2050, these deadlines that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, people speculate about, if there's a catastrophic event, how many people might die from a nuclear power plant. But the reality is 7 million people have died as a result of air pollution. Nobody looks at that figure. If you compare them side by side, actually nuclear power is much, much safer than any type of fossil fuel source of emissions whatsoever, in terms of risk and in terms of lives lost and in terms of potential lives lost. It's definitely safer than fossil fuels. Nobody compares the waste of nuclear power to the waste of fracking, which is completely unregulated and spread all across the country. And of course, there is new technology that allows you to use that, recycle that nuclear waste and use it again for power generation. So it's really the fossil. What I discovered in our case, it was that the fossil fuel industry has been leading the campaign, demonizing nuclear power and pushing climate activists to act against their own interests and push for the closure of a nuclear power plant, knowing full well that it's going to be replaced by fossil fuels. I mean, the mathematical reality, the physical reality is that wind and solar cannot produce enough power to power our cities and to power our nations. It's just not physically possible. Capacity factor of wind is a maximum of 14 to 15, of solar is a maximum of 14 to 15%. Capacity factor of wind is 45 to 55% maximum. Nuclear operates at a 95% capacity. Hydropower also operates at a very high capacity. Those are the only two really reliable baseload sources of carbon-free power we have, and we cannot afford to lose 1 megawatt of that power. In fact, we need to be building up those carbon-free sources of power along with wind and solar. We need that baseload power. That's just the physical reality. That's the mathematical reality. Talk to James Hansen, who is the father of climate science. He testified in, I believe it was 1986, in Congress, trying to warn the world and the U.S. Congress about climate change. Nobody listened to him then. He is still, trying to lead the world in the right direction. And he says that we cannot address the climate crisis without nuclear power. So defer to the scientists. Let's listen to the scientists, especially those who are right, who have been right for the last 4 decades.